Hey golfers, have you heard what's new in Pengilly? Come play one of over 600 courses and work on your swing utilizing state-of-the-art Foresight technology. Open by appointment only. Follow our Facebook page, Swan Lake Simulator Golf and Club Repair, for information, specials, and monthly tournaments.
Welcome everybody to the Tea with Ms McGill Show, presented by our friends over at Fortune Bay Resort and Casino. Make plans today to visit Fortune Bay Resort and Casino. St. Patrick's Day is a Sunday this year, so get up there, get your game on, have a good time all weekend up at Fortune Bay on beautiful Lake Vermilion. Fortune Bay has 172 rooms and a smoke-free resort, indoor pool, full-service marina, RV park, world-class golf, several dining options, bar, and 24/7 gaming, of course. Visit fortunebay.com for more details and plan your trip to Fortune Bay today. It is Puka. It is a big congratulations to the coach, the Section 7 AA champ. Did you wear your medal? Is it under there anywhere?
I don't have it with me, no. And actually, they only give out 3 coach medals. So the 3 coach medals they give out were the 3 bench coaches. I was a booth coach that night, so they only give out 3. Unfortunately, the State High School League is pinching pennies.
Jeez,
I don't know.
come on, high school league, you're better than that.
But you know what? It isn't about the medal for us. If I would have got one, I would have gave it to a kid that practiced all year that didn't get the dress for the game, because that's just
great idea.
Yeah, and we had coaches do that on our staff that got the medal.
Okay.
So that's it's just a classy thing to do, I think, for those kids that work so hard and, come down to the end of the year, you can only dress 20 guys, and then you end up giving it to one of those guys. Hey, you practiced all year, you deserve this.
Yeah. Oh,
You're part
awesome.
of it. You're part of it, even though you look at the dress.
Awesome idea. I like that. I like it. All right. Episode 83. We are officially 16 weeks into the boys high school hockey season. And of course, we are officially into the week of the state high school hockey tournament. So we're looking forward to that. So tell your friends, tell your enemies, we're the place you come for hockey coverage up in Minnesota's Arrowhead region. Give us a rating on Spotify if you can. Subscribe. Don't let the word subscribe scare you. We live in a world of all kinds of subscriptions and different things like that. Subscribing or following us is free and will always be free. So hit the subscribe button. Be like Mary Jo Sullivan and Tube Masters, who subscribed this week and joined America's fastest hockey growing podcast. All right. I think any other housekeeping before we get rolling here? Because we're ready.
I don't think so. I think let's just talk about the Minnesota State boys high school hockey tournament. Best time of year.
Can you believe it? All right. Yeah. Hammer that like button. We'll get into our state tournament coverage with our games of the week, as brought to you by Aspire Heating and Control, your local Bryant dealer. And Bryant is the official heating and cooling company of your Minnesota Wild. Aspire specializes in gas, electric, and hydronic heating and cooling systems for existing and new construction, residential and commercial installations available. Services include forced air systems, boilers, heat pumps, mini splits. They are, of course, licensed and bonded. Give Justin a call, 999-5957. Justin is a hockey guy. Once again, 218-999-5957. All right. It seems like a month ago, but we're going to go back less than a week ago. We're recording on a Monday night, obviously, because Coach Larson's got to get down to St. Paul. Got a lot going on. But the Chisholm-Hibbing Blue Jackets faced off against the Hermantown Hawks Wednesday night for the Section 7A title. You've been saying probably a year or two away. I probably agree. Hermantown gets the 4-0 win.
Yeah, and I think that the way that game started, I thought goaltender Wally was looking pretty good there in the first half of the game, seeing a lot of rubber kicking them out. There's only so much you can do and only so much rubber you can handle. The opportunities started coming, and there's a few things like we talked about before that the youth, I think, of that Hibbing hockey team, I think there's just wasn't quite ready yet. However, I did like the fight that they had in them. There's the drive. They didn't quit. They kept going. And I think that is a squad to watch for the next 2 years. Like we said a couple of weeks ago, I think they're a year away or two. But I think that group of sophomores and freshmen, when they're juniors and seniors, are going to be something to be reckoned with.
Yeah, they were out there a lot. And like I said last week, I don't think Hibbing wants to go on the power play because it just gives Hermantown momentum. As a matter of fact, I heard Coach Andrews in an interview kind of say something like that, but Hibbing's power play was actually able to get some time down there, get some penetration, get a few shots. So like I said, I think they got a lot to look forward to. I did talk to Coach Zubich, Coach Jamnik, and Coach Rewerts, they are making some adjustments to the schedule. So the schedule is going to be, take us a little step up next year. So,
Good.
I think that'll be good, be good too.
What's going to prepare them more? I mean, they just have to consider that if they want to get to that, that championship pedigree, that, the juggernaut level that Hermantown is at, then you got to do what Hermantown has done for the past decades. So ever since we've started doing the single A youth hockey, they play a complete AA schedule, and they actually sanction themselves as youth AA. You don't have to do that.
Right.
But programs that, if they want to stay single A at the youth level, they can play single A. All that status really classifies them as single A for the playoffs for regions, districts, regions, and state. They could essentially schedule only AA games all the way through. And play just their district games with A teams. And then at the end of the year, play A. So all they have to do is just continue to make their schedule tougher in youth hockey. They get into high school hockey, they can continue to do the same thing. They just, Rewerts and Jammer want to go out and start making that schedule a little bit more difficult than it was this year. It's only going to prepare those young kids over the course of especially the freshmen, over the course of the next 3 seasons.
Yeah. All right. Keep your eye on them. Anything else on that?
Nope.
All right. So I want to address a little something here. So, Chisholm Hibbing Hockey Faithful, this is for you. Couple parents, just a lot of fans. Listen, we need to stop the whining on social media. If you go to social media for Thursday last week, all it was whining about Hermantown having to go to AA, and it has to stop. This is just an excuse that the kids will hear. And I'm not just talking about the players right now. I'm talking about, a third grade, anybody that's old enough to comprehend it. Well, it's okay to lose to Hermantown. I've seen all the parents say it. They're AA. Hermantown they have the stars on the back of the jersey, but they have 4 state titles. I believe they have 4 stars. Hibbing, we have 3 state titles. Nobody's saying Hibbing should move to AA. Okay, that's number 1. It was a 4-0 game. Did I ever feel like Hibbing was really going to win the game? No. But did I feel they were completely dominated and completely outclassed? No. Hibbing, you lost to Northfield 7-1 early in the year. I have not heard one parent say Northfield should move to AA. Hibbing, you lost to Totino Grace at home 7-3. That's a 4-goal deficit. You lost 4-0 to Hermantown. I've not heard anybody in Hibbing, Totino Grace, you need to move to AA. Shots were 44-27. Centennial was in the state AA tournament this year, put 25 shots on Hermantown when they played them this year. Hibbing put 27, Centennial put 25. You were not completely outclassed and completely out of the game. Warroad lost to Hermantown 2-1 in the 21-22 regular season. I did not see one parent from Warroad say Hermantown needs to move to AA. Warroad loses to Moorhead on occasion. I've never seen a Warroad parent make an excuse. We lost to Moorhead because they're AA. I know a lot of Warroad people. I do not see that anywhere. All right. They would not be blowing up Facebook. Hibbing people, Chisholm people do not blow up Facebook. You remember Wayzata made the trip up to the Gardens last year?
Yep.
Warroad ends up beating them 3-0. But do you think Warroad would have blown up Facebook if they would have lost to Wayzata and said, well, they're AA, that's okay?
No.
They don't make excuses. You're making excuses for the kids. The kids are seeing this. If you want to win, build a winning culture. You have a small program. Roseau has a small program. They don't whine. When they play Edina, they expect to win. When they play Elk River, they expect to win. When they play Rapids, they expect to win. If they were to play Hermantown, they expect to win. They do not whine. Do not whine. Stop this whining. It's terrible. Build a winning program. I'll come to a board meeting. I'll tell you, Hibbing has always kind of been more of an opportunity program. They want to get lots of people involved. That's okay. There's nothing wrong with running a program that way. You want to get lots of kids involved. I remember when I was doing mini mites and mites, we want lots of kids involved. There's nothing wrong with that. But that's different than building a winning program in some senses, okay? An opportunity program is not necessarily a winning program. So build a winning culture and a winning program. That's all you have to do. And it's not really that hard. Like I said, I'll come to a board meeting. And the last option is if you don't want to play Hermantown in the Section 7A finals, get some parents, get together with the coaches, get together with the AD, move to AA. You don't have to worry about playing them. They're not going to AA. You don't have to worry about it.
Yeah.
So anyway, have high expectations. The Memorial Building has a lot of banners. Hibbing has a rich hockey tradition. Hibbing can win the Bantams, or that 10th grade group proved
the
it last year in
Pee-wees.
Bantams and in Pee-wees. And they were, I think, a game or two away, the Bantams this year, from making it to state. Have high expectations like this group has. Don't whine, don't go on Facebook and do all this. It's kind of embarrassing. It's not going to make any difference. And like I said, you lost 4-0. You were not completely out of the game. You were not completely outclassed. You put 27 shots on, more than Centennial. And that's all I'm going to say about that. Other than, if I was a Hermantown parent, I guess I would be a little disappointed because they have a program that is probably good enough to play in the AA. I would be disappointed if my kids were constantly playing at 2 PM on a Saturday in front of 7,000 fans when they could be playing at 7 PM prime time in front of 20,000 fans for the title. So that's the other thing. So it's not like Hermantown has it all that great, Hibbing. So anyway, that's all I had to say.
Well, and I got something to add to it. It isn't, I think the single A teams, they look at it and say, well, geez, it's been 13 or 14 years. There was that one time, and that one time that Greenway beat them, it just rebooted it like, okay, see, they are human.
Yep.
They are human. They did lose. And you have to go back and remember, if you can get scores and whatnot, I guess accredited. I don't know what the exact scores were, but I know that Grant Clapton had that Greenway team, and the first year they played Hermantown in the section tournament, they got absolutely pumped. I think it was something like 9 they got scored on them. And I know Grant had to switch his goalie and put in the other goalie. And I think he might have had to switch it again back to the original. I can't remember. This is just in my mind. I know he had to take the goalie out and put the other one. He might have did it again. I think they had 9 goals scored on them. That was the first year they met in the playoffs against Hermantown. The next year, they ended up meeting again in the playoffs. Earlier in the season that year, they had played and Hermantown beat the crap out of them. Then they played them in the playoffs, and I think it was an overtime loss that year. And then the next year, they played Hermantown again, got ripped during the season.
Like February,
and then came back into the playoffs, played them in the section championship game, double overtime, and a win. So every time that you get a chance to keep climbing that ladder and get a little bit better every year, the students, the coaches, the families become battle tested. This is just one step closer for Hibbing. It isn't going to be just because you won it the first time, just because you won it in Bantams, just because you won it in Pee-wees, that it's going to happen the first year you're there, in high school. It's here's one step.
Right.
Here's another step. Maybe you can break through next year with that step. And if you don't, you got another one to go. And I think you really, really got a good chance to knock off with what people are considering David versus Goliath. But to be honest with you, it's still David just versus David. I mean, it's high school hockey.
Yeah.
These are kids too. They're not walking around with their, whatever you want. It's not like you're dealing with.
And it's very, very well put. And like I said, it was a 4-0 game. And think about Greenway, the jubilation when they did get over the hump. You know what I mean? It's like, it wasn't an easy game, and that was the point. And the whole range was happy, and everyone was pulling for Greenway, and because it was a big deal.
Yeah.
And winning is a big deal. Winning is, you don't just get wins. I mean,
well, don't get me wrong. I want to, just as much as everybody else wants to. I want to see somebody else win that section. Right. I do. But you have to do it the right way.
Right.
You're not going to do it just by saying this and creating, like you said, you're creating an excuse for kids. Right. When that happens. It's okay. You didn't get it this year. You know what you want to do to get it next year? I guess you're going to have to work harder.
Yep. So kids,
yep,
take that message, high expectations, be a winner. All right, let's move on to the game the next night, the 7AA final. Of course, Grand Rapids Thunderhawks and over Huskies, and you guys, you came out hot.
Well, we came out moving a little bit in that game. I thought both were kind of getting back and forth. Rapids had outshot them in the first period, only kind of gave up 4 or 5 shots. One of those ended up in the back of the net. I believe it was a power play goal that they scored on to start with. I can't remember. Now I'm blocking this out.
I
remember
which end of the ice it was.
Well, it was on the far end. They scored the
right.
first goal, right? I believe it was on the far end of the rink. It was on the.
Oh, it was. Yeah, he came. Yeah, he dished it back.
He dished it back.
Right.
No, it was a short. It was Yes, it was
It was a power play. Yeah, it was a rush and he tucked it back. They were moving in the zone on a rush.
Yep.
And yeah, kind of a
It
wide
was a
open.
rush. They come down that direction and it was just, it was actually a well-played puck by Ben Dahl. Kind of a behind the back push to
Yeah.
the guy and he one times it in the net. And there was really I think less than 10 shots and they scored and we had like 15. And
Right.
I think we're coming at them, a little nerves, but going. And then we get into the break at the period break and we come out and, within the first couple of minutes of the first period, they put a shot on net. They get a stick on it. It goes off a foot and ends up going between the legs of Carter Casey and they're up 2-0. And, that's the resiliency of this team right now. It's like, there's a lot of teams where if you're facing the section champs that have been the section champs 5 years in a row, and they go up 2-0 early in the second period, there's a lot of teams that could go, here we go again. And then it's just coast mode for 2.5 periods and try to get through this and try to keep it reasonable. This group of Thunderhawks did at no moment did they feel like they were out of it. We're down 1-0 to start with in the first period. They're thinking, okay, we just got to get one. And we're just going to keep throwing pucks at the net and we're going to get one. And then come the second period, boom, they go up 2-0. It's like nothing hurt. We've been out shooting them all game. Let's just keep putting pucks on the net. Let's get going. And as soon as we pop one, I guarantee you when we pop one, we're going to pop 2, 3, and the game's going to go our way. So we ended up shortly after they scored that. We ended up, we finished that period. Did we go down 2-1? Did we finish the period down 2-0? I believe we scored in the second period.
Yeah,
we did.
Yeah, pretty cool. 2 minutes after, I'd say.
Yep.
Yeah.
So it's kind of interesting because it kind of got things settled and got going. Yeah, when it's shortly after that they went up 2-0, that Gus Drennan ended up, it was a shot to the net and a rebound by Caleb Gunderson, and he gets the extra rebound on it, and Gus is sitting right at the pipe, whack, 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 3 whacks, and finally it ends up in the back of the net. And as soon as that puck went in, I was sitting up in the coach's box up there up top, and I just looked at Dale and Coop, and I said, that's where the game started for us. It was, we were going, we got some more confidence, the puck's in the back of the net. You watch, this is going to be tied up. So then we go in, period break. Everybody's feeling pretty confident at the end of the second period. We're just down by 1. Everybody's excited about where we're at. Hey, see how easy it was to get one in. All you need to do is tie one up, and now we're in a even Steven hockey game, and anything can happen. And when we get into that into the third period, it's just a shot, puck pulled back to Seth. Seth's able to fire that over the left shoulder of a goalie that's down and kind of out of position, and ended up tying the game. And it was back and forth. There was a lot of opportunities from both teams, and goes into an extra session. And it's interesting when you get into playoffs like this, because right away after the third period, you get the extra session for eight minutes, and you don't clean the ice. Then if you don't score there, you go off the rink, you clean the ice, you come back out for another 17. So we ended up coming off the ice after the first session. We're talking in the locker room like, hey, if you could have told me, and this is kind of some of the words from the coaching staff and to the kids and to each other, if somebody could have told me at the beginning of the year that we're going to go in to the section finals and it's going to come down to the next goal that goes in, wins, and goes to the state tournament, I would have taken it every time.
Oh, there you go.
Because we ended up going into that situation. We're going back out into the ice. The guys run out of the penalty box and out onto the rink. And the rest of the coaching staff that didn't go to the bench went up to the suite, and I stood right behind the penalty box. Because where those players run out of the penalty box, there's a door, and I kind of stood there like, I'm going to watch the rest of the game from right here, because I had a feeling that this was going to happen quick, and I wanted to get on the ice fast and start celebrating. So it happened right away. It was within the first few minutes of the period. It's off a face-off down here to the left of the penalty box over by the Grand Rapids student section and the band. And it's a face-off, comes right back to Seth Carlson again. He fires it, hits the goalie in the shoulder, and it's one of those ones where it goes up and comes back down and he can't see it. and it ends up landing in the net, and the referee's trying to find it. Goalie's out of position. They have one of their players that comes in and is on top of the puck. And referee does one of these to start with, looking for the puck. And then he comes out and waves it off. And then they start the conference. And this is where it gets kind of interesting, because we'll get into the controversy, and the question mark that I had from everybody is, well, you're playing your section final at Amsoil. Not every place that has a section final has video review to be able to see this. And the answer to that is you're right. They did not use that technology to make the decision.
Okay.
They
Because you
weren't,
can't, right? You cannot in a section
they
game,
did
right?
not
I think
use
we've gone over this before.
They didn't use it.
You cannot do it except in the state tournament.
Well, that's not how they made the decision.
Right, exactly.
The decision was made. The referees went over to the penalty box with the linesmen and then talked to the scores table, because there isn't an area where you can go to talk to the goal judge, where you can go through the glass to talk to him. So they have to go to the penalty box and call the goal judge. That's who they were calling. They were not calling upstairs to Toronto like they normally do. They were calling the goal judge. What did you see? What did you see? The goal judge said, I saw puck cross line. I saw an arm go on top of it. And at the very worst, the referees, and I was sitting there with my ear in the box listening. Some of them were talking about, well, you waved this off. Is there enough for us to consider calling this a goal, by saying that the goal judge said it crossed the line? And the other referee is saying, well, if it's not a goal, then it should be a penalty shot, because he frees the puck and he's not the goalie. So it could have been a penalty shot. And then this is where a mistake was made by the people doing the replay up top.
See, I was going to ask you.
You probably shouldn't have shown that to everybody in the building until you made your decision, but they did.
Okay.
While the guy was talking on the phone, the goal judge also had reiterated what he thought he saw and looked at the screen, and you could see the top view, the puck
Yes.
crossed the line. He pulled the puck out with his hand. It did cross by that much. He comes out of the box.
Goal.
Boom,
Yes.
goal. And that's where mass chaos
Yes.
took off and went going. And
That's interesting. I was going to ask you that, because Mark Manny comes out. I don't know if you saw this, because I
I
was
did.
here celebrating, and he kind of went to there and he shook his hand, and he wasn't throwing a fit, but you could see him kind of talking like, hey, I don't know. I think he was basically, I mean, I'm speculating here, obviously, but hey, I don't know if you should be showing that on the big screen, because we didn't see it on TV that they showed it on the big screen. So I didn't know either, but it almost like he's kind of pointing up like, hey, I don't know if you should be showing that before you make a decision. So they did show the goal on.
they did, and they probably shouldn't have,
Sure,
but
right.
they're not doing it for that purpose. They're
Right.
doing it because they show replays with everything that's going on.
Right.
So whenever they show a goal, they show a goal scored with the replay. They can show the top view of a goal. They do that for TV purposes. And this isn't the NHL, where they're going to not show that because they don't want the crowd to start making the call for you.
Yeah.
But at any rate, they had already said this in the box. The referees and the scores table, they were talking to the guy over in the goal judge booth. They'd already said the puck had crossed the line. What do you think we have to do? They were trying to decide whether this was going to be a goal or whether they had to call a penalty shot because it was frozen by a player that wasn't the goalie in the crease. So at any rate, if they didn't call it a goal, it was probably going to be a penalty shot.
Yeah, okay.
And at any rate, he just kind of figured, I'm guessing that the goal judge just confirmed what he already told the guy when he looked up and saw it on the screen. Yeah, that's a goal.
Did the goal judge have the light on? Do you remember?
He didn't turn the light on because the referee was standing in front of him.
Oh,
So I don't really know if he didn't flip it on,
okay.
but they asked him.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I knew
And-
they went on the phones. They did say that on TV coverage. They're on the phone talking to the goal judge. So,
Yeah.
okay.
And they made the decision, they called it, and the rest is history. And it's been an interesting, like you said, it feels like
Oh,
it's
God,
been how
that's
many
exciting.
days? It was Friday, Saturday, Sunday. It's only been 4 days
Yeah.
since this happened, and I feel like it's been 2 weeks. It's like,
Well-
is the state tournament gonna get here anytime soon?
What time did you get to sleep Thursday night?
Didn't get to bed until about, I don't know, 3:30 in the morning on,
A little bit of adrenaline, just a little?
Yeah. And then I got up and got to school the next morning. I'm at school at 6:30, 6:45 in the morning and ready to go for Friday. So
All
It's been
right.
fun, but it's been fun to prepare and we'll start getting into talking about the different stuff that we're ready for here with the state tournament coming right around the corner.
Exactly. Last question. What was the environment of the game? We picked on the Amsoil a little bit here last week. How'd you feel the environment was down there?
I thought the environment was just fine. I know we talked about this in the last podcast, but well, would the environment be better, excuse me, in a smaller venue where it felt like there was more people, or in a large venue where, there might be 2,000 people there, but it feels like there's 3. I feel like the environment was still good.
Okay, good.
Especially the Rapids fans. Andover maybe brought 100. I don't know.
And then a little student section.
A little student section with about 12 students
Yeah.
in their student section, and their parents came.
Yeah.
That's about it. But there was a real good core of Rapids fans behind the benches. The band was there.
Yeah.
There was a huge student
Nice to see
section
the
there,
band.
and a lot of other fans as well too, that, from the Duluth area that were on the home of the Bulldogs wall. Which you can't see when you're watching TV because you're coming down. It's on this wall. There's a lot of fans from other towns that were sitting there too, from the range area in Duluth, and section 7A and AA fans. Not as many, on the ends up in the seats, but at least the bandstand area over on the Rapids side was pretty full, and it was pretty loud. I mean, if you haven't gotten a chance to watch the reaction when they called that a goal, there's nothing better that I can remember about that particular game than when they blew the foghorn, like UMD school, when they score, the foghorn goes off. They blew the foghorn and the crowd goes wild, and all of the Rapids guys are rushing to the student section. It was pretty loud.
Yeah. Okay, good. The kids deserve it. That's what I mean. It's all about the kids. We want them to have a good, fun environment. Like I said, not just the players, but the fans, students, the band. I'm glad to hear the band went. Everybody deserves it. There's nothing better than a great high school game with lots of action, with a great environment. All right, smash the like button. I'm going to preview the state tournament now, which is presented by, of course, our friends over at Iron Range Apparel, their official home of ODR swag. We've got lots of it right here. And a little special going on here. Spring Fever sale at Iron Ridge Apparel in the Thunderbird Mall in Virginia. First time ever, 20% sale store-wide until March 10th. So get over there, get your ODR swag, and then get your butt to the state high school hockey tournament and wear your ODR swag. So once again, the Gift Buyer's Paradise, Iron Ridge Apparel, Thunderbird Mall in Virginia. Get there tomorrow and get your gear. And then, like I said, run down to St. Paul and show it off. All right. Guess we're going to talk more so about the AA than anything. So Rapids with the 4 seed.
We got the 5
seed. Okay.
We got the 5 seed.
So you got the 4 and 5 game. We talked about that last week or the week before. That's always the prime time game.
Yep.
Prime time, Thursday night, Maple Grove, right? Am I thinking right here? I'm getting ahead of myself. No, White Bear. What am I thinking? Maple Grove didn't make it. White Bear Lake. And you met them in January.
Yep.
And it was up here at Yanmar,
Yep.
2-0 White Bear win, right? Okay.
Yep.
So what are your expectations?
Well,
What are you thinking?
I think this is, first of all, it's going to set up for a really nice environment. Like we were talking about environments. We talked about the game and we thought this before we even went into the section final. If we win, this is potentially where we're going to get seeded. We could have been anywhere from the 3, 4, or the 5 seed, depending on how votes would have went. And if you play a 5, 4, or 5 seed, you get to play at 8:30 at night on Thursday night. That's when the biggest crowd is there. There's going to be 22,000 people at that game. We knew that that's what we were preparing for. So the environment is going to be phenomenal. The great thing about that environment is not only the number of fans that are going to be there that night, but it's going to be a thing of beauty. It's going to be like it's going to be like the 2017 championship game, where there's more orange and black than you can shake a stick. It's going to be a thing of beauty.
Well, there'll be one person in green, Walleye Scott.
Well,
Okay,
he could wear his green for 5 minutes at 6 o'clock when Edina puts that game into running time. No, I actually shouldn't say that, because I think Elk River is going to do a nice job in that game, to be honest with you. But he could wear his green during that.
One Hornet in the stands, but
Yep. So the environment is going to be something else. I mean, going back to the game with Rapids and White Bear in January, this actually sets up really nice for us. We were in a tough spot in January and we played them and we only lost 2-0 in that game. We outshot them.
Oh, you did?
Quite a bit in that game. Their goalie was on a heater and he actually was on a heater against Hill Murray in that game. He was phenomenal. We just couldn't find a way to bury it in that game. And we actually were short a couple guys that didn't play. We didn't have Seth Carlson, who scored 2 goals in the section final. I believe we were short Gavin still.
Oh, yeah.
He was out. It's like assistant captain and it's a motor bug and an energy player on our team. I think even Luca might have been out that night for at least for a little bit. He wasn't feeling good. So there was some things that were missing from our lineup that night that I think you put those back into the equation. You put into the fact that we're playing so much better hockey now than we were back then. And if I'm being honest with you, White Bear Lake is a nice hockey team and they've got probably in my mind, top 3 out of the finalists for Mr. Hockey. Nolan Road is a phenomenal player.
Okay.
He is phenomenal. If he can be neutralized in that particular game, I think that the odds of us winning become even better. I lost my train of thought. There were some other things I was thinking about that game too. But if you can keep him at bay, I think the game rolls in our favor a lot better, to be quite honest with you.
Okay, well, just think about that. If you come back to just jump on it. Now, you said earlier, we were thinking of our seeding, seeing how the votes came in. I got that question. Who decides the seeding for the state tournament?
Well, the seeding is just like you get for sections. You take the 8 to 10 coaches for the teams in the section. You sit down and you rank all of the teams how you think they should be ranked, except yourself. You don't rank yourself. So the 8 teams that make the state tournament, there was a Zoom meeting at 9:00 in the morning, Saturday morning.
Okay.
And they actually were supposed to send the seeds in by 8:00. So they announced the seeds at the Zoom meeting. So we were sitting in, Coach Clafton was on the Zoom. We were sitting in on that Zoom in the office right after he had sent it. So we kind of knew that we were going to get the seeds at that meeting. You get it right away at that point in time. But all of the coaches that qualify, where their teams qualify for the state tournament, get to vote.
Okay.
They rank them, they send it into the state high school league to the committee, and then they'll come back with the seeds for the tournament.
Okay, interesting. Okay, because I did not know how to answer that question. So big one, and then you got Edina on your side and
Elk River.
Elk River, that's right. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, that's going to be an interesting game. I know I kind of joked when I said, well, Scott can, worry about Edina because it's going to be in running time. It actually won't, if I'm being honest with you. If there's another team that I think has flipped the script from December to where they're at now, it would be Ben Gustafson and his Elk River Elks. They have been just unbelievable the last half of the year, and he's done just a great job with that group. They got their hands full. They're playing the top seeded Edina team in the tournament. But if they play like they've been playing, they can make it interesting.
Yeah.
And I think it'd be kind of fun for them to knock off the number 1 seed, and then we can knock off people are probably considering us because we're a 5 seed versus a 4, that we're the underdog. But in reality, I remember what I was going to say about that before we get into it, that Andover there's a couple of teams that we've played this year that I think are actually better than some of the teams that we've played, or even similar to White Bear. Like, I think Andover is a similar team to White Bear. I think they're that level. Andover doesn't have an elite level player like White Bear does, but the team in general, when you take that elite level Nolan Road and the Disted kid back on the point, versus I don't think they have the depth that Andover does. Andover doesn't have a superstar,
Right.
but they've got a little bit of depth. So I think in reality, White Bear is about equivalent to that level of game. Maybe Andover might even be a little bit better, but like I said, I think that's the level that we're at. So they're beatable.
Yeah, sure.
100% they're beatable if we play the way we have been. And I think it'd be kind of cool to see upsets go anyways. If you want to call ours an upset over White Bear, and if you want to call Elk River an upset over the number 1 seed Edina, I think it'd be kind of fun to see Elk River and Rapids play in the semifinals. Elk River's gonna have to play their best game like they've been playing over the course of the last month.
Yeah, well, it's a year of the upset. We'll go through that in just.
Well,
a
it is,
second.
and we can talk about that,
Yeah.
the section tournaments, it's unbelievable. You're looking at the top side of the bracket as well, too. Chanhassen got the number 2 seed in the tournament. I believe they're playing Rochester Century.
Let me go through
John
the scores
Marshall.
really quick. We'll get
Okay.
through this. Let me go through, actually, real quick. Scores and we'll go scores and more kind of a little bit. Presented by the Ring Sports Bar and Grill, just off from the Hockey Hall of Fame. I was at the Ring Sports Bar and Grill on Saturday. The bacon chicken wrap with some Chipotle sauce. It was excellent, very tasty. Used my gift card. You need to use yours. My brother was at the Friday fish fry on Friday, and he said it was awesome. It's not just all you can eat fish, but it's also all you can eat shrimp. So Ring Sports Bar and Grill. 248-8582, sportsbarandgrill.com. Give Michelle a call and make sure you book your end of the season hockey banquet at the Ring Sports Bar and Grill today. So here are the scores. So the year of the upset continues. Rochester, John Marshall, Downs, Lakeville, 4-1 for the upset. Centennial upsets Maple Grove 5-2. Chanhassen over the 25-1-2 Minnetonka Skippers 2-1. White Bear over the aforementioned Hill 3-rip, and then Cretin Durham Hall over St. Thomas 3-1. Okay, so you can take her away on these brackets on the other side.
Yeah, so you got Chanhassen.
Then the Walleye Scott CFP Edina Hornets update. Of course, Edina, the number 1 seed, they were 4-1 winners, upsetting Wayzata. Unbelievable.
So then you got the top of the seed bracket. This would actually be the 2 seed versus one of the random draw picks. And I believe, if I've got this right, I've looked at it a number of times. I think it's Century versus Chanhassen. You can look it up. And then you go to the 3 seed versus, and I believe that is going to end up being
Rochester Century, John Marshall versus Chanhassen.
okay.
Yep.
And then you're going to have Centennial, who's a 3 seed, playing against Cretin Durham Hall, who is an unseeded team. So I think both of those set up for a really nice game. Centennial ended up with the 3 seed, but it's kind of interesting. We start looking at some of those teams and how they were seeded in the tournament. 3, 4, and 5 seed could very easily have been mixed and put in a blender. When you start looking at common opponents and this and that, we could have ended up with the 4. I think it'd have been a stretch to have us at the 3, but White Bear could have ended up with the 3 or the 4 or the 5 too. It was just kind of interesting, but good for Centennial for knocking off Maple Grove and getting in there too. We talked about the seeds. If you're looking at the teams that qualified for the tournament, Grand Rapids is the only 1 seed from their section that ended up going on. Minnetonka was the 1 seed and Chanhassen was the 2. Chanhassen knocks them off. And Edina is the 1 seed in the tournament, but they were the 2 seed in their section, the Wayzata. White Bear was the 2 seed to Hill Murray. Cretin Durham Hall, I'm not even sure if they were a 2 seed. I think they were lower than that, but Cretin ended up knocking off the 1 seed of St. Thomas Academy. And actually Elk River, if I have this right, I think was a 3 or a 4 seed. I think they were a 4 seed. Okay. And they ended up knocking off Moorhead in the semifinals and then knocking off Buffalo in the finals to go. So it's interesting because it's the year of the upsets. So why not have some of these upsets?
Yeah, you're better off having the 5 seed.
Carry over to the state tournament. Let's say that the upset in the 5 seed goes on. Let's say that the upset from an unseeded team, Elk River knocks off Edina, and let's see Centennial as a 3 seed end up getting knocked off by Cretin, and then we'll see if that Chanhassen can get knocked off by Rochester Century. It's interesting because I think that goalie ended up in that Chanhassen Minnetonka game. I think he solidified the fact that if he doesn't get the Frank Brimsek award after closing the door on Minnetonka in that game in the section final, it's a complete debacle. I think it is it's criminal if he doesn't get the Frank Brimsek award. No disrespect to AJ Rialts. He's a finalist. No disrespect to the Minnetonka kid that's in there. I forget his name. But also, the top 3, the Chanhassen goalie, because he shut the door on Minnetonka and made it to the state tournament for first time in program history. Chanhassen has never been there. Okay. They got a pretty good chance. You've never been there before, and you can find yourself playing in the semifinals.
With a great goalie.
Yeah.
I mean, no pressure. Again,
I mean, if I'm
loose.
being honest, and you know, I'd like to see some upsets in there because of the bottom seeds beating the top seeds and knocking people off. But if I'm being honest, this is what I'm going to see in the first round. You're going to see Chanhassen, in my mind, move past Rochester Century, John Marshall. You're going to see a really good chance. I think it'll be a better game because Creighton is Creighton wasn't a top seed, but they've got experience.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I go back and forth on this. So is Centennial going to knock them off and move in, or do I pick Creighton because this is their third year in a row playing in the tournament, and Matt Funk is just phenomenal at what he does.
Now, was he the coach that made him go to school last year?
I don't remember.
See, there was a team, and if somebody can comment, so I think it was because they went the previous year, they slept in. They were sloppy, didn't like it. So last year they played like, the afternoon, go to school, we'll get out at 10 or whatever. We're taking the bus over. He just wanted to run. Somebody had to have heard that like I did last year. If it was Creighton, let us know.
I think, so like I said, I've gone back and forth. My pick for the first game is Chanhassen. My pick for the second game, like I said, I've been back and forth, but I'm picking Creighton on the second game. They're going to make it to the semifinals. I don't want Edina to make it to the semifinals, but I think they will. I'll be cheering for Elk River because I love Gus. I think he's awesome and he's done a great job with Elk River. But I think Edina is going to win that, and I think Grand Rapids is going to make it to the semifinals. After that, put it in a blender on Friday. I don't even want to talk about what's happening next. I just want to see what that building looks like Thursday night when it's all orange, and then if the Thunderhawks do what I think they can do and come through and be in the Friday night game, it's going to be Rapids versus Edina in that late game.
Let me ask you this one: 4 games on Thursday. How many going to OT? At least one OT. You got a number?
Thursday night.
Yeah, Thursday night. Any of those games?
Out of 4 games, I think probably one.
One? Okay.
Mhm.
I
wouldn't
that
be surprised if it was ours.
Yeah, I can see that happening too. I can see definitely.
Let's hope that if ours is the one that goes into overtime that night, and it usually does, if that's the one, it's the 4 or 5 seed game. That game's not going to start till 8:30 at the very earliest.
At the earliest.
And then overtime, you're going to be playing still at 11:30 at night and getting ready to go to bed and we're going to have to try to sleep in on Friday. And
well, if that happens, you call Randolph. Remember when Duluth East was doing all those
find out what you did.
years ago?
That's what I'm hoping for. But what's going to be fun, because Walleye Scott can attest to this if he's watching, if it ends up with that scenario where Rapids gets through that first game and gets to play Edina, it's going to be there's going to be 22,000 in that building on Friday, and 2,000 will have green on and 20 will have orange. That's what I'm hoping for. But like I said, let's not get ahead of ourselves. We got one game to play right
one
now,
at a time,
and it's Thursday night, and it's going to be phenomenal.
One at a time. And you kids, I was playing in the state high school hockey tournament 30 years ago this weekend, and our English teacher for our homework said, keep a journal, because he had played in, I think, a couple of baseball state championships. You're not going to remember anything. So if you have a minute, take a journal, even a verbal journal with your voice memos, because you're not going to remember anything that goes on, because it's be so exciting. You run on adrenaline. My recommendation is, like I said, write a journal, just a page. Take the pamphlet, they get a little scratch paper they have at the hotel, and just write down kind of what you did, any funny things that happened. And those will be the things you're going to remember 30 years from now. All right. Good luck. Anything else?
No, it's just get ready to go. Be safe when you go down there, get your tickets, get online, get them. I know this is kind of interesting because the last time I went to the state tournament as a spectator was 2018. I went there and I got to witness Rapids winning it in 17. Then I went one more year in 18 and watched Minnetonka win their state championship that year. And I haven't been back to the state championship since. Told myself I'm not going to go back until I'm going back with the team and coaching a team. And this is my chance to go back. But the thing that's different about it now than it was back when I used to go up to, I think I went from 2004 all the way to 2018 without missing a year. You used to just get the paper tickets, you get yourself your ticket. You bought your AA booklet. You have the tickets for all the AA sessions, yada, yada, yada. Everything's electronic now. You go to Ticketmaster. Pretty easy to buy your tickets, and then you got it on your phone. They scan it when you walk in. You put your phone back in your pocket. You don't have to worry about losing any of your tickets.
I purchased ours. Another thing, no purses. What is it? If you got to a Wild game, so you lady fans, or if you have a lady who's a fan, it says here, bags, purses, and backpacks are not allowed in the venue. clutch, wristlet, and wallet sized 4-inch by 6-inch or 4-inch by 6-inch by 1.5-inch or smaller are allowed, but subject to inspection. So be sure that you know what you're doing there. Otherwise, they will confiscate it. So be careful of that. All right. Anything else on that? All right. So we kind of started the scores and more. Let's continue on that. One of our guests, Coach Garrett Hendrickson, guest from the summer. Check that out if you haven't seen it. He coaches Augsburg, and they were the regular season MIAC champions.
That's awesome. Good for him. First year as head coach at Augsburg, and continuing on what he helped build the previous year as his assistant year there, and they ended up going to the national tournament last year, and they're looking like they're going to make another run this year. Awesome. Congrats, G. We'll have to get him back on for another quick interview at some point.
Yeah. So, and I don't know how they did this week, and this was actually news from last week. I kind of missed it. So congratulations. And college hockey playoffs are obviously heating up. So if you have any comments, let us know, or you have anything, any tidbits on college hockey. We're so busy with the high school stuff right now, but we're going to move right into college. Of course, after this, we got another month of college hockey. I did see the Gophers got the 3 seed. They're going to host Penn State. And I also heard that Dartmouth has a 6'8" goaltender, 6'8" goaltender, getting some NHL interest. So if Dartmouth makes the tournament, that might be your dark horse pick with a goalie who's 6'8".
Well, I'll tell you what, if he's 6'8", he's probably got every single NHL scout in any of the overseas scouts looking at trying to pull him. 6'8", you don't even ever have to get up off your knees. You can stay down and keep those pillows stretched out, and you don't ever have to move. Your shoulders cover everything else.
Unbelievable how
That's
the game
huge.
has changed since our generation.
Yeah.
It's just insane. And then I did get word that some folks in Hibbing have started a committee to try and get Hockey Day in Minnesota. So good luck to the committee. And if you want to help, maybe get a hold of me and maybe I can get a hold of them. But committee's been started. So good luck on maybe getting that up here. And then I guess the only score we did not go over, Warroad double OT winners over East Grand Forks up at the Garden. So of course, Warroad punches their ticket to the state tournament once again after the girls won the state tournament last weekend.
That's good. So far, Warroad has kind of breaking the Dream State curse, they call it. You've seen Dream State before in previous seasons?
No.
Typically, you got, this is the documentary that they're going to follow a high school team all year long, making episodes about Minnesota high school hockey. And it's kind of funny because every year that they've picked Dream State, they had it with Moorhead, they had it with Minnetonka. They follow the team all year long, script it and make a documentary, and then hope that in the end they win the whole thing at the state tournament. And at the Dream State curse is if you're on Dream State, you're not going to make it to the state tournament. That's what happens. So they're on Dream State this year. We watched one episode already. Some of the other episodes will come out here after the state tournament. They'll probably spotlight some of their Hockey Day Minnesota stuff.
Oh, sure.
And hopefully they make a run for a state championship. I'd really like to see, I'd like to see Warroad win one here and do it.
Yeah.
Just like the girls have won 3 consecutive. It'd be nice to see them 3 or 2 consecutive. I think it's 2 back-to-back with the girls, but at any rate, it'd be nice to see the boys.
Well, big disappointment last year. Could have completed the perfect season. Speaking of that, Minnetonka, we were talking this weekend with some guys at Mansell, 9 Division I commits, 3 Mr. Hockey candidates. If they would have made it and won it, arguably, they probably went down as arguably one of the best teams to ever play in the state high school hockey tournament.
We already were saying that.
Yeah.
We've already been saying that this week. Like, it's funny, we talked about it, like this is, and they've been saying it at some of the other podcasts that I listen to. Like I listen to Fire on Ice podcast with Youth Hockey Hub with Tony Zozzle and Carl East, and they talk about this. They're the best high school hockey team of all time.
Wow.
Minnetonka. They are. That's a great way of stating it. I don't think I've ever seen a high school hockey team as good as that team is, but everybody's human.
Yeah.
Somebody can find a way to lose. They didn't find a way to go undefeated.
It's tough.
I'll tell you what probably should have happened for that team, and you never want to say, well, you need a loss. They needed a lot during the year. They needed some sort of adversity so that when the going got tough in the section final, they knew they had a little resiliency from it.
Yeah.
They didn't have any.
Right.
They won the state championship last year. They hadn't lost a game since they won the state championship the year before. And how many games did they go on a run before they won the state title last year? Before they won.
That's what I mean,
So it's like, then they come in there, there's no adversity and they got, everything's kind of come to them. They did have to, you know, a couple of games ties and maybe a couple of overtime games, but and then they get into some adversity in a second championship and Chanhassen knocks them off. And I think, to be honest with you, I've got some friends in Minnetonka, so I'm going to be respectful. I don't think there were too many in the people in the state that were cheering for Minnetonka.
Right.
Everybody wanted Chanhassen to win that game because they were the Cinderella story. Like, let's knock off the number one in the state. Let's knock off the team that has 5 kids in their starting lineup that didn't even go through Minnetonka's Youth Hockey Association. 3 of them were pulled from Chaska, a couple pulled from someplace else or whatever it is. And it's like, I think everybody and their brother wanted Minnetonka to lose. Now, I'm not saying I did. I'm just saying, like, people did.
People out there. Yeah.
I actually like but you got friends there. So there's some people there. I like Goldie. Goldie's a good coach.
Yeah.
I don't think any of that has to do with him. I just think it's easy to move to a town that had just won a championship and hey, let's find a way to buy a house there and see if we can go there. And the people that moved there got a lot of money. So why not buy another $1 million house? If you got one already, buy another one over here and move there.
You're starting to sound like you're describing hockey in the state of Minnesota down in the city.
Down in the city,
Yeah.
you can't do it up here.
No.
You know, people don't have that kind of money up here.
Oh, gosh. It's crazy. All right. Anything to add to episode 83?
Nope.
All right. Good luck, coach. We'll be watching. Please comment. Like I said, we gave a lot of content tonight and said comments. So if you've got a comment, please put in the comments. We'd appreciate that, especially if you can inform us and teach us something. Goatsportsmediallc at gmail.com if you want to comment more privately to us. Hammer the follow button, hammer the like button, and please share the show. Find us on Twitter or X under T McGill. Find us under T with Ms McGill, Instagram, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and the Musi app. If you're looking for us on Facebook or YouTube, Goat Sports Media LLC. That's we are. Merch, $20 for a tee. We also have hooded sweatshirts. Let us know. Cash App, Venmo, PayPal will get you taken care of. And of course, thank you to the greatest partners on earth, the Ring Sports Bar and Grill, Iron Range Apparel and ODR Apparel, Fortune Bay Resort and Casino, Aspire Heating and Control, Iron Range Goalie Academy, and Team Minnesota Hockey. For Reed Larson, Coach Reed Larson, good luck. I am Puka. Get out there and be your dream. You're tuned to the Tea with Ms. McGill Show.